Hi, today's a lesson. When you're on the farm, we talk about leaving the barn door open, and what it means is that the horses have already gotten away because somebody left the door open, or the cows or the goats or whatever somebody had in that particular barn. But now it's time to talk about how we keep the barn door from being left open, or what happens when somebody is so careless that they leave the barn door open. And what I want to talk to you about is what happens when somebody's so careless that they leave the barn door open. What I'm talking about today is the fact that the war in Iran was started because the Supreme Court told Trump he could do whatever he wanted in the name of our government for the United States, and he wouldn't have to answer for it. And that's the same as leaving the barn door open and not being criticized for the fact that he did it. But the problem that happens, and it's a serious problem, is now everybody else has got to figure out how to go catch the horses or the goats or whatever was in there, the cows, and bring them back. And unfortunately, everything that I've read and my own knowledge says that's not an option. It's too late. Too many things have happened. The biggest issue seems to be that the only way that he can feel like he won in this situation is if he says I won. And the only way he can say I won is if there's a negotiation. And I've been through the Vietnam War. I was 7 years old when it started. And I was, I believe, 19 when it was over. It lasted 20 years. It started in 1955, and it went to 1975. For exactly the same reason that this could go that long. See, the option that Trump has is just about none, because there was no danger, nothing was happening to the United States, there was no defensive action taking place. He just decided to blow up Iran. Of course other presidents had talked about it, and of course there were some reasons that people were upset about it, but there were also some obvious reasons why it shouldn't have been done. And the obvious reasons, of course, are what we're facing now. 20 years, there wasn't enough money for a lot of things that on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we see that we all need. We all need clean air, clean water, food, shelter, and our health. And in that shelter, we need the food. And in order to get the food, we need a way of driving or riding or somehow in a vehicle from the house to wherever the grocery store is, or we have to have a farm. And we don't have everything on the farm. There's always something you have to go to town for. Or there's always a goat that's not given milk, or a cow that's not given milk, or a time of the year when the chickens aren't laying because it's cold out. Whatever it is, you're never going to have everything you need on the farm, because unlike our relatives, our ancestors, we don't like to give up on anything. If we want strawberries in December, by God, we want strawberries in December. They may be frozen, but we're going to go get them. And we're spoiled that way, you know that. So now the situation that has resulted is we have a spoiled child who was told by an adult person acting like a child, was told by the Supreme Court that they didn't have any repercussions, so they might as well do whatever they wanted. So what they did was start a war. And now the other side has said, well, we're going to do the same thing everybody else did since 1955, and maybe before that. I don't know. I know my father served in the Korean War, but I don't know that much about it. What I do know is that they're doing exactly the same thing. They're going around, Iran is going around and bombing those people who normally would pitch in and give us a hand had we been on the defensive. If we had been bombed or something had been sent to us or taken from us, or somehow we were being defensive. But that isn't what happened. So the situation is that there's really no options that are going to be worthwhile. We may sit here and we may have to struggle with this for many, many years. And I really don't want to face that anymore. I spent the majority of my childhood thinking about all the people who died, because my dad was military, and my uncle was military, and my oldest son was military. And I had a lot of friends, and their dads were military or their mothers. More now, there's more mothers than I have our daughter's brother-in-law and sister-in-law were both in the military. I always wanted to be in the military. I just wanted to serve my country. But now it's just a death trap. Because if he puts boots on the ground, they're just walking into a death trap. Because there's so many big bombs and drones, and just like this beautiful day we've got here today, and all of a sudden, kaboom. I have trouble even thinking about the fact that so many young men, women, mostly men, died when I was a child because of the Vietnam War. It was a horribly unpopular war. I'm hopeful, I'm really hopeful that the 8 million people who turned up last Saturday, or the 2 million people they say might have turned up all over the world to protest the same problem, because the gas prices, the energy prices, all these things that are going to be affected are going to hurt everybody. And I'm hoping that somehow, some way, this won't last 20 years. And I want to thank you for stopping by, because, as always, the myths of the past apply to the future. They always do. That's the way it works in life, the myths of the past. Why is it important to talk about what happens when the barn door was left open? Well, you're supposed to, somehow have some kind of repercussions for the person who did it, but that isn't going to happen in this case, and we're all in this together. So thank you for being here today. If you have any questions, just put them down below. I'll be happy to answer. You can stop by and ask me to meet you on Zoom. I'm happy to. And if you're down there, check out Summerland, a nonprofit I've run for the last 34 years. We've got some things to remind you about taking care of the earth, because that's what farmers do. Thank you.